come and talk to me, pull me aside, let me know you're interested. We can kind of see if this opportunity would be a good fit. That's it. Leave it like that. And if that guy that you think is going to be your general manager wants it, he'll come and pull you aside and say, let me be that GM, dude. Like, I want it. We have Adam back on the podcast. So I think it's been, Adam, 6 months since we last had you on the podcast. And at that point, you were 19 years old and had been doing this for, I think, 2 to 3 years. And your goal was to hit 300,000 this year. And you had really good questions about like scaling to multiple locations and things like that. So I wanted to invite you back on. So welcome. For anybody who is watching down the road and want to go back and watch that video, it's out there. I think it's at age 19, going to do basically 300,000. What's new, man? Like what are the updates? Talk to me. Are we on pace to hit those goals, those ambitious goals that you had? Like, how are things going?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like you said, I think we talked just before the end of 2023 last year. So 2023, we ended up doing I think it was like $298,000, so almost 300 in 2023. And so we're real time, mid July 2024 right now. So had great growth this year. Pretty much added another few guys, got that together, and so year to date, we've done 210,000 for the year. We're on pace to do should be around right around 425,000 in annual revenue. So right now we got 3 crews out pretty much on a daily basis, doing the deal. About 50% mowing recurring service, 50% kind of landscape enhancements, maintenance work as far as the landscaping side of things, and that's what we're doing. But just trying to grow and get better every day. I'm 20 now, so gained a year of age, year of experience, and this year's been really well. Definitely our best one yet. We're going into our 4th year of business, our 3rd official year being registered, but this one has definitely been the best yet. The guys have been crushing it. It's been a really good year.
That's awesome. So you officially made it out of the teenage years. You're now a young adult in the 20s. So
That's
welcome.
Right. Yes,
actually, I just hit 30. November 30th. So I am no longer in the 20s, but
there you go.
But dude, that's awesome, man. So I guess are you like out of the field now? Like what are you doing? So you've got 3 crews, and then what does your role in the business look like now? And then as far as like the type of services that you offer, like what are the exact services? Are you doing more simple stuff to scale and add more crews? Like how are you approaching that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something honestly that we can get into maybe later on if we got some extra time there. I'm curious to hear your thoughts as far as like one of the things I've been kind of struggling with the most is where to focus my time at and what my days should really consist of. Because at this stage, especially, obviously you've been here, you surpassed this, you're wearing pretty much every hat at this stage and doing the whole deal every day, doing a million different things, and getting to the point now where I gotta start to focus on certain areas of the business, certain paths that I want to take, and kind of delegate things to really keep growing, because it's not sustainable to keep doing it myself. But as of now, typically I'm about in the field like a day, maybe 2 days a week, depending on the weeks, doing pretty much, like I said, wearing all the hats. So doing all the estimating, all the office work, general manager of this location, planning to do more locations in the future. Right now, we just have this one. So I'm the general manager of this, doing equipment maintenance, pretty much anything you can think of on a daily basis. Anything that doesn't result in getting the work done. Like I said, I'm still out in the field doing work about a day or 2 a week, and then everything else on the back end kind of consumes the rest of my days on any given week, doing most of the training for new employees, getting them out to scale, onboarding, hiring, interviews, anything you can think about. And so that answers the second part of your question as far as the services go. So right now we have 1 crew that does all of our pretty much one only mowing crew to do mowing every week. We have 1 landscape crew. And so for our landscaping, it's all simple services. So mulching, bush trimming, edging, property cleanups, weeding, anything like that. That's one thing that we've really focused on this year. Last year, we had to kind of expand a little bit more. This year, we really scaled things back, simple services, stuff that everybody can know how to do within a couple weeks. They can go out, get it done at a high rate, know what they're doing. And I'm not required to having to be on these jobs to do these simple services. And so we have one mowing crew, one landscape crew does simple service, and then we have one kind of hybrid crew. So depending on the week, they may have a couple of days of mowing, a couple of days of landscaping, just depends on what it is. And that's how things are going. In the future, I would like to, like I said, trying to open up to multiple locations. Ideally, we would have about 3 mowing crews and 1 landscaping crew per location. So my goals, especially as we go into next year, is really scale the mowing side even more. We've been taking incremental steps to that, and took a big leap this year as well, kind of getting 1.5 mowing crews out. But that's what the plans are, to keep growing the mowing side of things and keep filling up that side. So that recurring revenue is just so important and so necessary throughout the entire season. So you don't have to keep going out and reselling jobs.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And like to do year to date, like 210,000, you have had significant growth. I mean, adding an entire, third route, third truck and all that. Like, what do you think is maybe the really like key to that success? Like what has unlocked that for you to go from, doing 300,000 last year to already halfway through the year, basically doing 210,000. I mean, like you're crushing that. So like, what does that unlock? Or like anybody that might be struggling to like, they have 1 or 2 trucks to get to that next level. What do you think like helped you get there?
Yeah, I think really this year has just been getting the reps and getting the experience in. I know that's something that's talked a lot, especially in our industry, is like to get good at things, just like doing it multiple times and over and over. And that's really been important this year, as far as like going into this season, having the expectations of what this season is going to look like and where we need to tailor things to kind of get us to that next stage of growth. As far as like last year was a lot of, trying different marketing methods and Facebook, Google ads, print materials, yard signs, really whatever you can think about, kind of figuring out what works for us, what works in our market, what works with the services that we're trying to market. And then this year we were able to kind of just dial right into that, not spend the time and spend the money trying things that we know aren't going to work for us and we're not good at, we're not good for the service that we're going to offer in our market. And so already knowing, just with the experience over the past few years, knowing what's going to work, knowing what's going to not. And then also just being able to, and the same thing goes with, hiring employees, knowing what to look for in good employees and how to train employees quicker. The more times you do it, the better you're going to get, so they can be more efficient, faster, more profitable, faster, and be a better employee quicker, being more experienced with the training side. And same thing goes just with the whole side of the business, being a better estimator, knowing how to bid jobs better on my end, get back to customers faster, just everything that kind of over these past 3 years that I've realized this is the stuff that's going to move the needle and this is what's not, and just kind of understanding how to improve in every area. I'd say that's just been really the biggest thing, is just figuring out what's worked and just kind of dial into that, having the experience over these past few years and knowing kind of what to do going into the season.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Did you say that you were doing like the office admin side, or did you have somebody doing that for you?
I'm doing it all right now. Possibly something I'm looking into, especially like next year. We're gonna have to do something, and I know you and Sam talked a lot about the AI answering service. That's for sure something I'm looking into, kind of get in the back of my head, something to at least take those inbound calls, take the reactionary calls, to at least get that off my plate. But yeah, I'm doing all the office admin right now as well.
Dang, man, you're busy. You're very, very busy, because you're up there in Ohio too. So are you like out of the spring rush now, or are you still kind of on the tail end of that?
Yeah, we're definitely out of the spring rush. I would say June kind of wrapped up the spring rush, and now we're just getting kind of into the dog days of summer, you can call it. Just kind of doing the whole ordeal. About the last month, we've been pretty dry rain wise, and our lawn's been drying out a little bit. So been doing, a little bit less mowing on a weekly basis, probably doing about 60% of our routes, just because a lot of them are drying out, especially they don't have irrigation and stuff like that. And so things have been a little bit slower on the mowing side. We've been able to keep busy with all of our, landscape and enhancement works and stuff like that to keep everybody busy. But definitely on the tail end of spring rush, kind of getting into the dog days of summer here.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So the long-term goal is, you said, multiple locations. And I know we talked about that, in our first podcast that we did, or I think it was like coaching call or whatever. But is that still the goal, like to do multiple locations? Like, what is your trajectory on that mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's still the plan, and something that we've been working towards and building towards. All of my guys know that's the plan, though, what the growth opportunities are going to entail for that in the coming years. But for our goal is to open essentially 5 locations by 2034. So the next 10 years. And that's the plan. So like I said, obviously we only have 1 location now. I'm the general manager of that. like to get each location to about 4 crews, running about 600 to 700,000 annual revenue. So we probably got another year, maybe 2 years before we're ready for location 2. But that's definitely something that is in the back of my mind, something we're starting to plan for, find the right GM who's going to be able to take over that and kind of put things in place to make that successful. Because as I'm sure, and you get your feedback on this and everybody else's, but the second location is the hardest to start. Once you do 2, doing the third and the fourth and the fifth and however many more after that come a lot easier. But that second one is a lot harder because you can't be in 2 places at once. And so definitely something that continuously trying to tailor the business towards over these years, making systems that are going to be scalable from location to location, stuff that can be copied. And I'm not going to have to be in the daily operations in the field every day to be able to make that happen. So yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Very cool. Switching things up here. Well, I see a thermostat back there on the door. What is that?
That's our revenue thermostat. So it has our goals for 2024 is 435,000 for revenue, and so that's filling up. You can see it's about a little bit over halfway right now. Like I said, we're at 210, so about halfway right now. So yeah, that is our revenue thermometer. So all the guys get to track along with our revenue goals. See that in the shop every day. Know how far along we are.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I love the visual. So, so what can I maybe help you out with? I don't like. I know I'm sure obviously you're growing and you want to, scale and stuff like that. Is there any like kind of bottleneck that you're experiencing in your business that you need maybe help with, or anything that I can help with?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say right now, kind of what I mentioned earlier is, I guess, where to focus my time over, for sure the rest of this year and into the next year and the year after that, and kind of where I should be focusing my time. I feel like, especially in this stage, like I said, wearing all the hats, doing a million different things every day can be somewhat difficult to, I guess, have a purpose for kind of all your time blocks throughout the day. You can call it, as far as like just running around from thing to thing, doing whatever that day consists of. And it's hard to have, I guess, purposeful time that I can set aside and doing this thing or doing this thing or doing this thing. And I know there's stuff, obviously, like I talked about, need to delegate, need to pass off to somebody else, need to hire somebody to do this, whatever the case may be. And that's really the main thing that I'm, I guess, struggling with right now and thinking about on the regular is where to focus my time, where to, just where should I delegate, what should I keep myself doing, and what my role should be in the company throughout the next couple of years.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. We basically, because we're kind of going through this right now as I transition to more of like a regional manager, Larissa's the general manager. There's a million tasks that you can do, but the literally what we have found is like the only thing that matters is sales. Hands down, 1000%. That's the only thing that like gets that thermometer up. It's not managing the emails. It's not building out systems. And so like you're in a really weird place right now where you're just probably running around like a chicken with your head cut off at some points, just so busy. One day you might be sharpening the blade. One day you're taking a mower to go get fixed. You're taking a phone call, you're doing an estimate. And so I would say what I've been doing recently is really focusing my first like 4 hours of the day on like the most important stuff. And then anything left over, I will fill it in with, other things. And so I think for you, obviously the goal is to grow. Right now is probably not the best time to like build systems. Right now, like the time to build systems is probably like fall and winter time. And like, you're like, okay, so let's analyze our business. It's kind of slow season. Let's implement a hiring process or stuff like that, right? Like at this point, I would be blasting out like for you to grow top line, tons of upsells, like doing estimates. Obviously, you do have to manage the phones and the emails and things like that. But that's really what I would focus on is sales. And because at the end of the day, like there's so many tasks as a general manager that you could literally be doing. Oh, also, I think at your stage of like $450,000, like you are still a producing GM. You should not like be fully out of the field. So you working 2 days a week, 3 days a week is significantly helping your P&Ls. I would keep doing that. And so, that and sales, keep doing the work, maybe do the higher level work of like maybe more expensive landscape jobs, or if you do weed control, like some of those like higher level jobs instead of just the mowing. But unless you prefer mowing, but your time is better used in those probably areas, training some new team members while you're out there, things like that is probably where I'd focus a lot of my time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I've begin to, I guess, realize, especially on the sales side of things. But I think it's easy for, and especially switching from kind of the spring rush where you have all leads in the world, everybody wants their everything done, April, May, and June. That's kind of, that's our busy season. And you kind of don't have to go out and get much work. You just kind of let people come to you if you have a good website and good Google profile and stuff that people can find you. So during the spring, I was able to focus, a lot more on just answering inbound leads and doing estimates and then working in the field and not having to actually go out and do targeted marketing campaigns or do upsell emails or do one-click estimate emails, do text blasts, anything like that. And so that's definitely something that starting to realize, like, that's not necessarily a lever that I just want to, pull whenever we get in a pickle like this where we're essentially leads are starting to slow down, but something that needs to be consistent throughout the year as we can allow it. And kind of in going off of that sales side, I guess what tangible things are you working on, besides the couple of things you mentioned, but if you want to go a little bit more in depth on that as far as during those sales times? Because I don't know exactly what it's like for you, but like right now, like I said, for the past month, like lawns have been dried. Most homeowners probably can go every 3 weeks without mowing their lawn. And so we've gotten very little activity on the mowing side of things because that's not at the top of people's minds. It's not a service that people need right now. And so we've been switching more to, the landscaping side of things and those simple services. But I guess what tangible things would you be working on to grow those sales on a daily basis to boost the top line?
Yeah, so like as far as like any direct marketing and stuff, so I'll tell you, we spend all of our marketing money in the spring rush. We don't like really do. I mean, we do some door hangers, like, but the return on them is not that great. Like in the summer and like fall, like it's just not. And we've even done like leaf cleanup door hangers, like. We don't get great return on that stuff. As far as like actually like what to tactfully focus on. So we've been doing text messages through Copilot. I don't know if do you have Copilot?
Yeah.
So the texting will it will 4x your activity based on an upsell email. In fact, we don't even send upsell emails anymore. We send upsell texts. And we try to make it not like super salesy. We just say, "Hey, John, my name is Will," or not my name. This is Will from Military Lawn Cuts. I wanted to check in to see if you need your bushes trimmed up front. That's it. We send a blank canvas text out like that, and then they'll come down the pipe. But mainly bush trimming and bed deweeding. That's what we're leaning into. We have close to like 3,000 customers in our database, and so we sent out some upsells a couple of weeks ago and got like 200 estimates on the schedule just from like one upsell. And so we just do that each month. Sometimes not every month because like it's a lot for our general manager to do all those estimates, and like there's a lot of budget hours on the schedule right now, so we're delaying that a little bit. But that's probably what I would like shift over to. So you said like the mowing. The other thing is like we have our customers on like weekly mowing customers or like rotation, and we don't skip them or have the crews skip them unless the customer specifically asks. Even if we're just cutting, like if we're skimming it because it's kind of in a drought, we still show up, we still edge the property and go through the motions. This is some of the best money we make because the guys are in and out. They're not mowing much,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that structure for your mowing business, or if you give them the option stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do the same. So we leave it all up to the customers to skip as well. And there's been a couple weeks, especially that customers just no growth in their properties. So we had 40% of customers text, call, email to say they wanted to skip. But yeah, no, for sure. I sent out my first text blast last week to all of the customers in our database. Marketing bush trimming, asking if anyone wanted to estimate bush trimming, and the same thing. We have like 675 customers, I think it was, that went out to, and I got like 35, 40 estimates on the schedule for that, and quite a few I'm still working through to get done this week. So it was a great thing for us, and hopefully something that's gonna propel. So yeah.
And then like you could just do the math on that, right? Like if you have whatever your close ratio is, 33% or 40, 50%, like when you send that estimate out, like they're requesting it, they need it, whatever that percentage is, that's likely what's going to book. And so you can easily fill it up. And dude, I would do that every month. Hey, it's Will again, checking in. Did you need, and maybe next month it's insect control, or you can kind of rotate the services and stuff like that. So kind of fill things in.
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Is there any kind of like other like bottlenecks? Like, okay, so you said that you were looking into, and this would be more of like I would do this in the off season, like fall winter time. So there's a phone answering machine that Sam and I actually set up. It's called Good Call. Phenomenal. In fact, it's answering 100% of our incoming calls right now, and so it's pretty much targeted for like an inbound company, to where it's like taking a lot of calls. It can answer pretty much all the basic questions. It can also, if it asks for like pricing, it will, send the customer a link to our form to fill out a free estimate form. And so it's been working really well. Our admin office manager was getting bogged down for like 4 hours out of her day. Like she'd be on the phone answering calls. Well, now we call it Sergeant Green, who answers the phone, our AI agent. And Sergeant Green basically filters that. Now, some of them will be like, hey, transfer me over to the main office, and then it'll get through. But yeah, dude, it's $60 a month. It's called Good Call. I would definitely check it out. Very easy to set up. In fact, you don't even need to train it. You can just set it up with like the phone number and your name and everything. And then from there, it will actually create topics on the back end of what you need to teach it. And so you just let it run, set it up. And then after like 10 to 15 calls, it'll be like, okay, we're getting a lot of customers that are asking about price. Like, you need to teach me about pricing. Like, what do I do? And then you can go in there and kind of tell it to do what it needs to do,
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah, that's it. That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I've seen that from you and Sam. That's on my list of things to do this offseason, at least to handle that part, because especially right now, that's one of the things that I kind of is one of the toughest things to handle at this stage, in my opinion, is the office side of things, because I can't afford somebody to come on full time to be an office manager, because we wouldn't have anything for them to do half the time, and it's hard to bring somebody on part time as well, because stuff's going on full time. Phones are going on 8 to 5 at least, and then after hours after that. And so it's kind of a tough thing to manage. And then trying to train an office person as well at my stage, whenever that's there's a million different things that an office manager, office employee can be doing on a daily basis. And so that's been one of my, I guess, biggest challenges in kind of where to start when it's necessary to kind of hire somebody for the office to take over, and then kind of how to train what tasks to give them, what responsibilities they have in the office as well. So if you want to have any insight on that, I know obviously you have your office manager, kind of when the best time bring them on, and then kind of what their responsibilities are, how that training process looked like.
Yeah, really good questions. Before I jump into that, are you answering are you answering all of the calls? So like you'll be out mowing a lawn, doing a bush trimming, and the phone rings, and you're like, hold on, let me answer this. Or do you do like, hey, half of my day each day is like I'm doing admin, or maybe a quarter? Or are you doing like every Wednesday is my admin day? Like how are you handling that right now? Because you're juggling a lot.
Yeah, I try to put things off in different time blocks. So I'll try to say, hey, Monday from 9 to 12, I'm doing estimates, and then this time I'm doing this, and then if I have any field days, this is just how my brain works. How I like to do things is like, if I'm in the field for that day, I want to be like in the field, working in the field the whole day with the guys. I don't want to be like on my phone every third minute, 'cause especially on P4P, the guy's gonna start getting frustrated at me if I'm taking phone calls the whole shift while we're trying to work. And so I try to be out in the field, try to be a productive employee just like everybody else. And if we're taking lunch, I might grab a couple phone calls, but I'll try to come in early, answer any missed calls from the day before, stuff like that, and then stick around for an hour, call anybody back who called throughout the day, whenever I'm in the field. But on my days I'm not in the field, I try to book different sections of my day where I'll be doing estimates, and I'll be doing office work and admin, I'll be doing maintenance, and kind of having different set blocks of time.
That's awesome. So as far as like when you need, ideally, like are you referring to like a full-time office person, of like when is the right time for full-time person?
Either or if you think that starting off with a part-time person is necessary at some stage, that would be fine too. Kind of what you think for, I guess, handling the office side, what's going to make sense as you grow.
Yeah, so we did not do a very good job at this, and we're kind of like in a pinch right now. But we basically, what I have learned is that we prematurely hired like our office. We're very top heavy. We have 3 full-time non-producing revenue employees, me, Larissa, who's a GM, which we've established that she's not really going much out into the field, just because it's very physical, and she's my wife, and I don't want her out there mowing lawns. You know what I mean? And then obviously we have our office manager that works remote. So what I have learned over the last 5 years is if you take your collected revenue that you have, and I'm not talking about like what it shows on Copilot, like what you actually collect on QuickBooks, that total income, multiply it by 10% or 10%, so 0.1. That is the amount of money that you are allotted to spend on admin. If that comes out to be, so let's use you for example. So you said that you're going to do what? Your goal is probably 430 this year.
Yes.
All right. So if you take that, if that's collected, not what it shows on Copilot, but what's in the bank on QuickBooks that shows that it hit the bank, that would be $43,000, okay, times 0.1. So you would be able to next year, knowing that, hey, if most of that's recurring, you don't have to go out in there and resell it, you would be able to hire an office person for 35, 40, maybe even 45K full-time, 5 days a week, to basically do the admin work next year. You would have the green light from me at 10% to go and do that and still be safe, to where you're still producing in the field. You're not still now like they're going to handle all admin stuff. You should not be doing that stuff. You go out and do the estimates. You still go out and trim bushes. You're still producing in the field next year, and maybe like doing training and stuff like that. Now, as far as the tasks that they're going to do, biggest thing is going to be answering the phones, which hopefully you have your AI agent doing that, so it frees up their time, so they're not bogged down. Emails, they should be managing all of your emails. You shouldn't, like, the only emails she should be sending you is the ones that are complaints and yellow slips that you have to handle in the field. And then billing, which Copilot does automatically for you, but you always got to clean up the ones that don't go through. I just actually am thinking, okay, running P4P. So that's another admin task. Processing payroll. I'm trying to think of the other ones. I literally have a list. But yeah, really anything that has to do with like the computer and office, she should be doing. Scheduling, putting in notes. Now you can definitely put in notes, like if the guys tell you, hey, so-and-so's yard wants this or whatever, you can always like go in and help. But like she should be doing majority of those admin stuff.
Oh, got it. And what I guess this is something I thought a lot about as well with an office employee. Do you have them, I guess, more of like a checklist or a to-do list if they're don't have anything to do, if that makes sense? Like they've kind of went through all their normal tasks and stuff that they can work on and still help out the company in some way whenever there's nothing to do. No phone calls coming in, no emails, and everything else is taken care of.
That would be smart. As I reflect, I don't have something like that. Our office manager stays pretty busy because we're
Yeah.
going to do probably, I think maybe 900,000 this year, give or take, with both locations. But like that would be smart to definitely give them, hey, look, like if nothing's going on, like this is the task that, and what that could be like is maybe it's following up with estimates. Like, hey, scrub the pending estimate list. Anyone that's still pending, like call them and we need an answer, yes or no. Doing collections. Like, there's obviously customers that haven't paid. You had to pause their services. We need to like call them, see if we can get a hold of them. Like doing those kind of odd end stuff. Yeah, you definitely, so you're going to, in the office, you have two basically types of tasks. You have your reactive tasks, i.e. phone rings, text comes in, email comes in, right? Those are your reactive ones you got to get to somewhat decently quickly. And then you have your non-reactive ones that are like, hey, I need to run P4P. Like at some point today, I can either do it in the morning, in the evening, but at some point, like that is a daily checklist. Like I've got to do that. And so you'll have to juggle which ones take priority, because there comes a point if like, for example, like now where it's not like super, super busy and it's more customer service stuff. Like if we need to process P4P before we leave. And so if it's 4:30 and we're about to leave in like 20, 30 minutes, end of day, and the phone rings, it's okay to let that go. We need to finish our non-reactive task first, for the day. But most of the time, the reactive task will take priority over the non-reactive because you can kind of fit those in when it's slower or not busy.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Good question. But yeah, man, I think you doing that will definitely help. Like between sales, operations, and then admin, what area do you think like you need the most help in?
Good question. I'd probably say sales right now, just because, like I said, a lot of my time especially this year, hasn't been spent doing much sales. Like we did some postcard print marketing and some door hangers in the spring, and that stuff, was pretty planned out. We had worked through the off season and said this is the stuff that's going to go out in this times and all that. And besides that, it's been pretty. I haven't done too much. Like we talked about, just did like a text campaign last week, and of course doing all the estimates throughout the year that come in. But for the most part, they've all just been coming in naturally through our website and Google profile and stuff like that. So I'd say that's the thing that I honestly probably need the most experience on, need the most just help on to keep pushing forward.
Do you have the upsell feature turned on in Copilot for the crews?
We do. We actually just had a meeting last week talking about that, because again, it wasn't something that I had even mentioned to too many of them. We talked about it a little bit, but it wasn't something I told them to like focus on. We have a weekly meeting every Monday. We talked about that, showing the guys what all the different upsells are in there, different types, and we have a bonus that goes along with that for upsells that get accepted, so they have some incentive to do so. But that is something that, yes, we went over, and something that hoping that we can utilize over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, really lean into that. Really encourage, like each week. Hey, John sent out 4 upsells this week. Let's get like recognize them. Really try to like push that in the team meeting, so that way they can like see, even if the customer doesn't book, at least they're, oh, John got recognized because he's pushing out upsells. That I would say over any paid marketing first. Make sure you have like each communication, and I would make it very, very personalized, which I'm sure you're already doing through text. Hey, John, I keep using the word John, or guy's name John. Hey, John, we were at your property today, and I noticed that you needed bush trimming. So let us know if you want a quote. And they'll be like, sure, like what's the price? Most of them. And so just make it real personalized like that, instead of seeming like kind of like, hey, I try to use the word I in those types of texts. I don't know. You can even be like, hey, this is Adam. Hey, it's Adam. I was on your property today and I saw you need a bush trimming. You could tailor it like really kind of to you. I have found that gets more responses than like, our crew added a note today. We noticed that's more like bigger business type thing. And then, yeah, just lean into that. Make sure you have each service, so that way they can like pick and choose and send it out, and they don't even need to like tell you or whatever. And then really leaning into those text upsells, I think will significantly help your sales. Like I said, we don't spend any more money like after probably end of April. We don't spend any more money on marketing. It's all farming the leads we got in the spring rush and like the existing that are in the database for the rest of the year. It's just every month consistently, every 3 to 4 weeks. And sometimes we send 2 out a month. Like once you go through all those 30 estimates and you call them and follow up with them, and call the pending estimates and like scrub them, it's like, all right, send out another upsell. Like we just keep doing that. And I think that'll help. It's free. It's literally free, so you're not having to spend any more money, but
Yeah.
I think that will help.
Absolutely. And one thing real quick too, because that was my goal and what we've executed on so far going into the season, as far as like spend all our money in spring rush and then just upsell and farm the rest of those leads throughout the season. I guess we had a kind of a issue in the spring, because we had like another postcard planned that we didn't even go out, just because we were so busy, and it was hard to, I guess, keep up with the new leads that were coming in, especially like all the marketing that we were doing was for mowing, because that's what we're trying to get more of, trying to get more mowing customers and build those routes up. We were just so busy with everything we had, mowing and landscape wise, that was coming in, from the marketing that we did, and naturally that it was hard to manage. I had 3 new guys that started in the spring, and so getting them trained up and getting them comfortable and on the crews, and it was just a lot, especially this year, adding another crew, and just with everything going on, that it was hard to manage the supply and demand in the spring. And so that's why I wish, looking back on it, that we would have, we could have had the capacity to take on especially more mowing and push that marketing even more than we did, to really take advantage of that season. Because I agree, like, right now, if we were to send out another mowing postcard, it's like we're not it's not going to get us anywhere, and it's just going to be a waste of money. So at this point, like, pretty much just save for the spring and try it again whenever the demand is high, and we're actually going to be able to capture those customers for the mowing side of things.
Yeah, I would say I would prefer you to save those flyers for springtime next year, and then just know, like, you already went through the pain of not having the correct capacity. Over hire 2 times what you need. So for example, we have 6 trucks and we can put 2 guys in each truck, which gets us to 12. So a couple weeks ago we were at 13 employees, which basically means if every employee showed up, one guy doesn't have a seat in the truck. It is what it is. And so what you'll find is not like, it's very, very rare that all 13 ever show up. Somebody's sick, somebody's on vacation, somebody's calling off, somebody doesn't feel good. Like, they're never all there. And in a rare scenario that they all show up, I mean, you can handle it a few different ways. If somebody's late, you say, go home. You set a standard, right? Or maybe you could put them on flyer duty, or maybe have them do, something else around the shop or something like that. Sometimes I get sidetracked. I could go down this path, man. I'm coming back to this. So I think that's a good approach, taking all of those flyers, pumping them out in the spring rush next year, just saving them, because they will get you the best return in the springtime. And then just know, this year, maybe you didn't have enough people, or like hired soon enough to get them trained up. And then you can save hopefully that money to like hire a couple weeks sooner next year. And then that way, when those leads are flooding in, you're like fulfilling the orders, and like you've got that capacity.
Yeah. And now how do you that's ideal. That's great. That's what would be in a perfect world. How do you manage that, overhire in the spring, you're able to handle everything with the guys you have, and then all of a sudden we get to basically now, mid-July, August, when things are slowing down, you don't need everybody, you just don't have enough work for everybody. I guess, how do you handle that? Or are they people that going into it, they know, hey, you're working from, April 1st to the end of July, and that's it, and then you're done? Or just kind of let go of low performers? Or what does that look like for you, kind of managing that throughout the year as well?
Yeah, you can handle it 3 different ways. So we're down here in Texas. It's miserably hot in the summer. In fact, our crews, we start at 6:30 a.m. and they're done by 1:30. All of them, basically. Like, if they're still out at 2 o'clock, our GM will call them and say, come back. Like, it's too hot. It's miserable in the afternoon. So number one, the hours do get condensed slightly in the summer, because they're not working like 8-hour days. They're only working like 6.5. But they also get a boost on P4P for 40% instead of 33%. They're still making good money. We really haven't had that issue of like being overstaffed in the summer when it's drought. Like, we just farm our upsells. We literally send out, like, when we need more work. And I think the other thing that helps us out a lot, because we've been in business for 5 years, is like 80% of our income is recurring revenue. So we really only have to sell like 20% like landscape jobs. And so, when we send out an upsell and get 100 or 150 estimates on the schedule, I mean, we're booking probably 30 jobs from that, easy. And so, like, and then we can really only do probably 15 or 20 of those a week. Like, we don't have a set landscape crew. All of our crews mow, and all of our crews do landscapes. For us, it's easier, instead of having to go out and like sell jobs for the landscape truck. Like, it's like, look, you guys are going to mow for 75% of your day, and then at the end of the day, you're going to do a bush and bed service. And like, everybody might have one landscape job on their route, and so that way everybody's kind of universal. They all kind of know what they need to be doing, but like, we're not like, we don't have one, landscape truck that's like, that I constantly have to resell, So, and then in a scenario where you do over hire, and you're like, let's say you only need 6 guys next year, and you're like, dude, I'm going all in. I'm hiring 9. I'm hiring 9 people. Well, guess what? When June comes along, you pull up P4P and you say, okay, who's my lowest performer? Who's the guy that's getting the most yellow slips? Who's the guy that constantly calls off or is late, that I may need to set an example of? And then you may need to let him go. I mean, it's a business transaction, supply and demand, right? Like, if you have too many workers, it's actually a good problem to have, because you can shed some weight off. It'll have everybody rise up, like, oh snap, Adam's legit. okay, he just fired so-and-so for showing up late twice this week. He's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's huge for sure.
Options is a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Many options.
Yeah, and I guess to go along with that, another little follow-up question is, does that translate to, like, are you guys always hiring, always looking for better employees than what you currently have, and kind of always trying to improve the current selection, drop off the low performers, the ones that aren't showed up on time, etc.? Or what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, not always. So we're typically hiring. We tell people we're always looking for people because as we grow a business, we're always looking for people. But realistically, 6 months out of the year we're hiring, and the other 6 months out of the year we're basically maintaining. We start hiring, I think, February 1st, which is 1 month before our growing season starts, March 1st. And then February, March, April, May, June, July, and then really by August we're letting off the gas. Like, we're actually letting off the gas right now. We're not really doing any more interviews. We have, I think, like 11 or 12 people. We have 12 people at our main location that work for us. And so we have a person for each seat in the trucks. And then we'll just let off the gas eventually over the next couple months. Somebody will probably leave, somebody will probably go get a new job. Somebody probably can't take the heat for the next 2 more months. Like, it's hot down here, like really hot. When we get to the slower season, like, I'm telling you though, like we drive upsells hard all the way till like December 1st. Like, there is plenty of work, because even when the mowing season is done, like, leaves start to fall, and like leaf cleanup season down here is a pretty big deal. Like, we get a lot of revenue in the months of October and November too. So like, we stay pretty steady till probably like December is when it finally like slows down. Pretty much 6 months out of the year, I'd say is like us hiring full board. And then I know there's some people out there that are like, yeah, I always hire, and it's like, but what else could you be doing with your time? Like, you could be like doing something productive or making the business money instead of doing an interview that like you have everybody's. Now, unless there is somebody on the team that you may need to make an example of, unfortunately, that isn't following, or like there's always that in the back of my mind. Like, if this is like, oh man, this guy like got 4 yellow slips this week, and we've already had the conversation. It's like, do I need to let him go? And if I let him go, do I need to fill the spot? And so there is that always in the back of my mind. But I think once you get to full like capacity and stuff, you're good. What I would recommend, I don't know how your business is. I know for us, we use 21-inch push mowers. So we don't have any ride-ons. It is very physical. These guys are walking 6 miles a day in 100-degree weather. So I like having options. I don't like hire just what I need. I get 2 extra for sure, because there's somebody that's sick, somebody's injured. What's crazy is like, when I look at the numbers also, it's very rare that like, I mean, there are some people on our team that do like 35, 40 hours a week, but dude, some of them are only working 25 hours. And I mean, they're crushing it on P for P, but it's like they're not even working full time. So I need, like, it's good to just have backups.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make sure that you're utilizing your assets to the most that you can. Like, if you're not sending out upsells each month, you're not like firing on all cylinders. That's why I tell Larissa all the time. I'm like, if we were fully staffed, we had 12 people that were here every day, we could send out upsell emails every like 3 weeks. We would be crushing it, and the numbers would be so healthy. Like, but the reality is we're not. And if we're not, that means we're not firing on all cylinders yet. Then, there are months that I get a glimpse of it that we are. Cool, man. Well, any other last questions that you got as we kind of wrap up here?
Yeah, I just kind of, as we're beginning to plan to open location number 2, I guess what I should be looking for in somebody who's going to make a good general manager for not only location 2 but also location 1. Begin to want to fill that seat as well as a new location, and kind of what's going to make a good general manager, what's going to make somebody who's going to do well in that seat, what qualities look for, and then kind of again what to kind of make my time be filled with, what should I be doing on a daily basis when we get to that second location, and kind of what my role should be to help maximize growth in the business.
So are you planning on, so when you open up your second location, are you planning on getting it started, or are you planning on having someone from day one start it and then Like, or are you trying to figure that out of like, hey, do I hire a GM for my main location, stuff like that?
Yeah, I guess it would really depend, and another conversation to have is, if I'm correct, I think you guys run both locations out of like one physical location, right? And so that's
Yeah.
another thing. That's another thing that I'm not 100% sure about how that's going to look. We have begun to do business in the area that I want to have location two in, where we've filled up like right now it's like half a day, three-quarters of a day full of mowing in this city. It's 20 minutes from us. It's not crazy far, but begin to at least put some budget hours on the schedule for that location to begin to conduct business there, so that we have some base going into it when we open location two. And so I'm not sure. Ideally, I would love to, and what all my guys know is I want them to move up inside the company and have that opportunity to grow and be a general manager of a location for the high performing employees who would do well in that role. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. But again, plans are still a couple years away, pretty loose. I'm trying to just figure everything out, what's going to make the most sense.
So I think you're doing it right by servicing the other territory at the main location right now, and then eventually you'll cut that off, and then that'll be part of the second location. The reason why I like that strategy is you can actually start the second location GM off with like 30 or 40 properties from day one, and like them not start with zero and like have to scramble. So already from day one, they basically have a full schedule for them. That's very good. And then the minute they start getting more work, it's like now they need an employee, to help them out. So I think that's definitely the right approach. As far as abilities and skills for the manager, there's three things that I would say. Number one, which is the most important, I think, is they need to be the ones that are there every day, showing up, analyzing. Like if you see attributes in the candidate, they have to be one that's there every single day. They're not calling off. They're not sick. They're not late. They're there every single day, because if they're not, guess who is?
Me.
And
Yeah.
so you have to make sure that like you don't have to do their job. That's number one. Number two is they need to be coachable. They need to be very coachable. So is this somebody when they get a yellow slip? And if you're looking at like pulling them up in the organization, like when you give them a yellow slip, are they like, no, I can't believe I got a yellow slip? Or are they like, oh, really? Huh, maybe I didn't do something right. That's probably my fault. Like I messed up, because you're going to be mentoring them. You're going to be coaching them on how to run a business basically. And so to have that dichotomy be healthy, definitely want to be coachable. And then the third thing is someone that is wanting to grow and like learn. Like, are they listening to the audiobooks? If you don't have an audiobook thing yet, like definitely get that to where you give them the login, they can listen to stuff. Maybe it's just watching YouTube videos of Mike Andes, or just learning how to be learn how to turn better on a mower, or like, are they educating themselves and taking the time outside? Like if you have training videos, we do training videos, like are they actually watching them? If they're not, then it's like, again, how much do they really want to grow here? And then to wrap all that up in one nice bow, this is very, very important. So those would be my three attributes. Number one is they need to be there every single day. Number two, coachable. And number three, they need to be like wanting to grow. To wrap all that up, they have to want it. And it sounds so simple, but we have had people in our organization that we see the GM attributes in, and we're like, that's it. He's our guy. He's here every day. He's coachable. He's learning, and we push it on him, but they don't want it. They have to want it. And so you have to be very careful when you present it to them, because you don't want to force them into a corner where it's like, that's their only option. Like, it's like, oh, boss man is telling me I got to do this. You don't want to do that. This is how we will handle when we have our third GM. I will do a team meeting and I'll say, hey guys, we have an opportunity within our organization. We're opening up our third location. It's a great opportunity. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be rewarding. This is what it entails. This is what it pays. It's going to be super stressful. So if you're already like stressed out about coming and mowing lawns, just double, triple that. Like, it's going to challenge you. If this is something that you would like, come and talk to me after the meeting. What I have found is if in the meeting, if you're like, raise your hand if you're interested, everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm kind of interested. They need to come and approach you outside of the meeting. Hey, come and talk to me. one-on-one, pull me aside, let me know you're interested, and we can kind of see if this opportunity would be a good fit. That's it. Leave it like that. And if that guy that you think is going to be your general manager wants it, he'll come and pull you aside and say, Adam, hey man, let me be that GM, dude. Like, I want it. And then that's when you know you have them. You can't push it on them, because if you push on them and you're like, hey, I'm gonna use John again. Hey John, man, you're really hardworking. I have this great opportunity for you. You can make way more money than just mowing lawns. Like, do you want it? Like, that's not the approach. That's
Yeah,
probably what I would say.
I like that. I like that a lot. How would you, I guess, manage that if you say have a team meeting, say that, and you get a handful of guys that come up to you and say, I want it, and or you think you're like, hey, out of these three or four guys that say they want it, I this is the best one. This is who I want to choose. How does that conversation go? I guess with the rest of them who don't get that opportunity, because now they know, hey, they didn't get it. Somebody else was chosen instead of me. They might be a little PO'd because of it.
I think it's the way that you portray it. So like in that vetting process, that would actually be a good thing for me, again, because I like options. I like having options. And so I would challenge them. I would say, why do you want? Almost like, tell me why I should pick you. Like, build your case. Because if you just wanted to try it, like, but if they're like, no man, like I really want to push myself and all that stuff, and like, I want to be challenged. I'm like, all right, it's going to be a challenge. Like that makes sense. But you're right, because you're going to look and you're going to be like, all right, well, I got 4 guys. This guy's late. So you probably in the back of your mind, like, this is our best candidate right here, right? What I would do in our organization, because we have a poster on the wall and it says what winning looks like. There's 3 things. Number 1, it says show up every day. Don't be late. Don't leave your work early, shift early, all that stuff. Number 2 is quality over quantity, which is like yellow slips and stuff like that. And then number 3 is production. So like, what's your efficiency score? What I would literally do, you and I are business owners and you know who the best candidate is, right? It's probably the guy that's there every day that shows up 30 minutes early. It's probably the guy that doesn't get any yellow slips. And it's probably the guy that has the best efficiency. That's typically who you're in, and who build the best case of like, I want to be challenged. That's going to be the guy. And you literally just have hey guys, so-and-so is being selected for the general manager, so he's getting that promotion. Here's the 3 things we look at. And it literally on our wall, it says what winning looks like here at Military Lawn Cuts. This is what we base our decision off of. This is what we hire off of. This is what we train off of. This is what we promote off of. And this is what we fire off of. And you're literally like following the guidelines of your blueprint that you build. And that might be your core values. Hey, this candidate like represents these core values. This is what we hire, train, promote, and fire off of. And this is a real example. We feel as though the best candidate because he's always here. He's never late and doesn't get slips.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah. And and they might be mad about that, but the numbers don't lie. If their efficiency score isn't as good, but yeah, I guess if you had like a weird scenario where you had someone who like had a better efficiency score or something like that, sometimes, but it might come down to character too. It might be like, hey man, this he's a little bit more humble and coachable versus the other one that like, sure, he gets 95% efficiency or 100% efficiency, but like, is he going to be able to build a good culture too? Yeah, man. Good stuff. I think in when I asked Mike that in the co-pilot group, he was like the one that takes charge, like, and that can like run a meeting. And so you can maybe like not just like run the team meeting, but like also in the field who like takes charge. Like, hey, we need to do this, or like I got a guy that opens up the shop before I even get there every day. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, please want it. Because I see it in him, but you got to be careful with that. You can't push them or back them up into a corner where like you're forcing it on them, because it's just going to cause more headaches,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on the podcast again. It was fun. I think you're absolutely crushing it. And so hopefully a lot of people can gain value from this, and you're out there in Ohio making it happen, man.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate, everything you're doing for the industry. Watch all your videos, all your content. So I love it. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So Adam, like, I don't know if anybody that's watching this that has maybe 1 truck, 2 trucks, and want to get to your level, where can they find you? How can they reach out? Do you have like any social media or anything like that people can ask you questions with?
Yeah, absolutely. I have Instagram, our company Instagram and Facebook. It's pristinegreenlawnandlandscape.com. So see the Pristine Green up there. If you just type that into Instagram or Facebook, you should find us. Pristine Green Lawn and Landscape. And then our website, pristinegreenlawnandlandscape.com. So reach out to me there. All of our contact be listed on there as far as phone number, email, all that good stuff. So yeah, I'd be happy to chat with anybody who wants. I'm always willing to learn from others and have a good conversation, talk about anything business related. So absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, man. Good
Yes.
seeing you again.
Yeah.
And get out there and crush it in Ohio, dude. You're doing big things out there.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Will. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll see ya.
See ya.